So, the Renegade Line Alpha just launched yesterday, and to my and many others' disappointment, the game clearly needs a lot more work, with many things just feeling clunky or downright broken. And so, to help me tackle all the problems and things that I have noticed, I've brought along my friend, Drazo.
Yo, what's good?
To start, let's talk about the login system that initially plagued the game. The way they handled the login system was that you would input your email address, they would send a code to your email, and then you would input that code, logging you into the game, verifying that, you're the user you claim to be. The problem with this is that it takes forever for the email to appear. For a lot of people, every one of my friends included who was trying to log in, it took a minute, at least right at the start. And, that could have been because a lot of people were trying to use the system, or a lot of people all at the same time caused the system to fail and whatnot. But I don't know why Raw Vengeance keeps trying to reinvent the wheel with their login systems. They already have the email system on their website, which works, although it's really inconvenient. I think at least with the launcher, an email password system would work just fine. And although you only had to use this login system one time to get into the game, and after that you don't seem to have to, it's still pretty frustrating when it doesn't work properly. So the next thing is that the server browser is just pretty awful in general. I understand it's probably not finished and it's not as fleshed out as I and the developers hope it will be in the future. First of all, I don't know why there are so many servers. There's not that many people signed up for the alpha. I think there's like 100 servers or something. There can't be that many people trying to play. I mean, I guess if you account for all players playing at the same time, then maybe you would need that much, but that's too much of hopeful thinking, I feel like. But that's not even the worst part. It's not that there's too many servers. That's not my gripe. My gripe is that you cannot even see how many players are in each server. Because there's so little players already, especially now that a lot of players are very unhappy with it, it's really hard to find a game. You pretty much join every time an empty lobby, which obviously isn't fun, and you can't play the game. A simple player count of who's on the game would pretty much eliminate this problem. And yeah, an issue that I feared, although it's mostly because I feel like a lot of players are disappointed with the game at the moment. Pretty much every US server is completely empty. There's nobody in it. I hear that there are some populated European servers, and I believe that. I think there are a lot more Europeans who want to play this game, but the US servers are almost completely dead as far as I've seen, and I haven't been able to join one since yesterday that had players in it. So a player count on the servers would pretty much fix this. One final gripe with the server browser is that you cannot sort by the different options. So you cannot sort by ping, you cannot sort by IP address, you can't sort by the region the server's in. Having the option to sort by these different things just generally gives you the option to find a game faster.
I think right now the one problem that shines above all others is the fact that you cannot hit anybody unless you shoot them in the legs or in the dick. And as much as it sounds like I'm joking about only being able to hit people in the dick and in the legs, I'm seriously being dead ass. Like, you can only hit them in the dick or in the legs. Demonstrated in the video clip, you can see that I'm shooting him in the head and in the chest, and yeah, I hit 1 or 2 shots in each of those areas, but as soon as I start shooting him in the legs or in the dick, I'll hit every single shot. So like I said before, I definitely think that they need to fix the hit registration and the hitboxes the most right now, because it's extremely frustrating to be playing and you can't hit anybody except unless you basically have to shoot them in the legs right now, or you're not gonna hit them. Like, it's that simple. Now, I'm not saying this isn't an easy fix for the devs. What I am saying is that it almost makes the game unplayable at the moment, for me at least. I don't know about you guys, but it just gets to me when I'm shooting at someone and my bullets just aren't registering because the hitboxes are so fucked.
Now, with the gameplay itself, there are certain things that just plague the game that almost make it unbearable to play. So first of all, with the gameplay itself, there seems to be a lack of quality. Like, there's just some things about the game that aren't very smooth, namely when moving around. There are a few instances where you would move your player around on, relatively flat ground. The game would just become kind of stuttery. The game would feel jittery. The camera would feel jittery. And mostly I noticed this when moving in specific directions. So if I was moving left or right with A and D, the camera or like objects in the distance would feel jittery. And also I noticed when I was gaining altitude, so if I was going up steps or if I was jumping, it would just make the game feel jittery. There would be just some weird clunkiness to the movement. I also noticed that there was a delay when jumping. So from the time that you press space, it would take like a second or so before your character actually did the jump animation. Another weird delay that existed had to do with reloading. So when you reloaded, your character would finish the animation, but there would still be a point in time in which you couldn't actually fire your weapon. So it was basically like the reload took longer than the animation would show it for, and you'll have to take a listen to see what I mean in better clarity. So take a look. All in all, it hinders the experience altogether. On top of the movement feeling clunky and weird, the physics are also pretty clunky and weird. So pretty much anything that can send a player flying horizontally would almost 100% cause their death. This includes things like the rocket launcher, shockwave, and recoil bullet. Pretty much all of these things can immediately kill another player if they're sent flying horizontally. Obviously, the biggest one would be the shockwave ability for the medic class, because that just blasts people outward in a horizontal direction. The rocket launcher can also do a similar thing, but especially the recoil bullet. Now, when you have this ability on and you basically shoot anybody, if most of the shells hit the target, they are going to fly horizontally, especially if you're close to them, fairly close, which you would be with the shotgun anyway. So if you're close enough to them, they are going to go flying, they're going to hit the environment, and they are almost 100% dead without question. It's actually probably even more deadly than the shockwave ability. It just seems a little bit harder to pull off. And there was also this thing I discovered that if you launch somebody into the air with a rocket launcher and then you use recoil bullet to shoot them horizontally, there's no way they can recover from it. There's no way they can recover from that horizontal velocity. They're going to hit the environment too hard and they are pretty much dead. And I just have this question that if the game was smoother and it was easier to pull off, without all this micro stutter and that, I'm pretty sure this wouldn't even be that hard of a combo to pull off, and it would pretty much be a one-shot kill for anybody. It'd be broken. And you'd think to survive a lot of these abilities that knock you into the air and whatnot would be to activate your parachute, and that sometimes is the case, but the parachute is pretty inconsistent in not only its function, but its ability to be used. There were a few times where I would get knocked in the air by shockwave, or I'd fly a great distance due to a shockwave or another ability that I mentioned before, where I did survive in a few situations. But majority of the time, it doesn't even register that you're really flying through the air. And I think it's just because, again, that horizontal movement, it doesn't really detect that you're falling straight down. I think to activate the parachute, you have to be falling straight down. But even then, even if you are, there were times where I was testing the rocket jump, and I would jump into the air with the rocket, and it would work quite often, but there were just a few times when the parachute, I was just pressing space and the parachute would not go and I would just take fall damage. So the parachute is definitely bugged, and I think it could be a good counter at least to some of these one-shot abilities that send you flying, but it needs to work. So either these abilities need to be changed so that you don't fly and hit the environment as hard, or you don't go horizontally, or the parachute needs to be able to work in more situations where you aren't just flying straight down, because a lot of the times when you are flying, you're not flying straight down, and so the parachute just doesn't seem to work properly.
Another thing that really bothers me is some of the abilities just flat out don't make sense, I feel like. For example, the revive ability on the spotter. I just feel like the way they're presenting this game, a revive ability doesn't really have any place in it, but again, that's just my opinion. Also, the recoil bullets is super broken right now. If you shoot someone with your shotgun, they'll basically just fly 50 feet and then die as soon as they hit something. Or if they get lucky, they'll be able to deploy their parachute, but like I said, that's if you get lucky. Another ability that seems to be really broken is the supply ability on the tank, and I think it's a good idea, but the fact that it basically turns your rocket launcher into an assault rifle is by no means a good idea, and it's almost comedic, because I feel like there's no way that was their intention when they designed this, was for it to be so broken. So I feel like a quick fix just on the rocket launcher could really help this ability and make it more balanced, but until they do that, it's going to be broken. I feel like right now the overall speed of the game is just so slow. You literally move so slow unless you have the adrenaline ability from the tank. But I feel like honestly you could have everybody running around twice the speed that everybody moves right now, and that would be better than what it is at right now. Or if you took the speed that you get from getting the adrenaline ability, if you took that speed and made that your base speed, I think that would really, really impact the overall speed of the game and just make it more fast and fluid. Two things that I was really quick to notice were the fact that you can't shoot enemies in water, and I'm guessing this is due to the fact that, like I said before, you can't hit anybody unless you're shooting it at their legs or at their dick. So obviously, if they're in water, their legs and their dick are going to be submerged. Therefore, you can only shoot them in the head and chest, and bullets don't register in the head and chest, so you just cannot shoot people in water, plain and simple. And the grenade ability on the spotter, the crosshair, is nowhere near where you throw the actual grenade. You line it up perfectly with someone and the grenade gets thrown 10 feet to the right every single time, no matter what. So I don't know if that's just, I'm guessing that's just a bug, because there would be no reason for that to happen. So I feel like that should be an easy fix too.
And the final thing I noticed is that when you're shooting, the bullets don't spawn from the gun itself or crosshair or even your center of mass. Rather, they spawn behind you. So when a guy was shooting, standing right up against a pole, you could see the bullets coming from behind him hitting the pole. So they would basically enter the pole right behind it. So I don't know if this is a bug. I don't know if this was intentional, but I don't feel like the bullets should be spawning behind the character rather than, from the crosshair or the center of mass or the gun itself, really. With everything being said, Renegade Line has amassed over $100,000 through crowdfunding and donations through their website. At the very least, hopefully, with the money that they've made, they can continue to work and improve on what they have now, so they can eliminate some of the issues that we've mentioned here. Renegade Line is a game that I want to succeed. I don't want to see this game fail. I think the uniqueness is there. It's in the game, but the fact that some of the core fundamentals of this game just don't flat out work really hinders the experience. It just makes it outright unplayable. So if these things are to be fixed, I really think the game has potential. And finally, with everything said,
peace out.
Thanks for watching.